Hey everyone, welcome to the very first Frameworkless APIs challenge by Treblle. My name is Calvin. I'm JavaScript engineer and developer at Treblle. And for today's challenge, we'll be building an API with PHP without a framework. All right. And our very first guest who was brave enough to take on this challenge is Alessandro. So let's meet Alessandro. Hi there. How are you, Alessandro?
Hi, hi, fine, thanks. And you?
I am great. I'm super excited. You're my first guest. You're the first one to say yes to this challenge, and it's really exciting. So, before we get started on some more notes, could we have a little bit of introduction to who you are, what you've been doing, and what you currently do? Just anything you want to share.
Okay, I am Alessandro and I am a software developer working in Clarinet, software house in Europe. Actually, I am working with Clarinet Italy. Usually, I am working in PHP, JavaScript, TypeScript. I really love to work on open source project. I am a maintainer of several different projects in PHP and JavaScript. And also, I love to share my experience with other developers in different conferences like Symfony, like PHP Day, or in JavaScript also. I am also founder of the PHP user group Romagna, and at the moment we will do several events every month. And it's very exciting for me to be here. It's an honor to be the first guest. And now I am really excited to start with this demonstration. You know,
Yeah, thank you for that introduction. So it seems to do a lot of work with PHP as well as JavaScript and TypeScript. So I want to ask, what about this frameworkless APIs challenge by Trouble got you interested to like, hey, let me be the first guest for this challenge?
well, when we are talking about frameworkless, sometimes it's difficult to share why it's so important to understand the frameworkless movement. And my colleague Francesco Strazzullo introduced this frameworkless movement. There is a GitHub repository of the manifest, and um, it's very important for me to share this movement because you need to understand how a framework works and how to use a framework also, because you don't have to be guided by a framework. Usually when I'm hiring people, I don't like us to hire Symfony developer or Laravel developer. I would
Hmm.
like to hire software developer.
Yeah.
So the framework, it's a tool. It's
Hmm.
not the main thing for your software. The real the real importance of your software is the business logic, not
Hmm.
how are you using the framework, right?
Yeah.
So with frameworkless, you can understand well how a routing system works, view templates, and whatever you want. Because if you have a problem, you can understand it and work on it. Also with libraries of the frameworks, for example.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
So,
good. Yeah, go ahead, please. If you have more.
so it's very important to understand it, and sometimes decouple
Hmm.
your your business logic, not sometimes, always
Yeah.
decouple your business logic with the framework. And I did a lot of talk about hexagonal architecture, for example.
Hmm.
But with this little project, we can share how we can build a routing system without a framework.
Hmm.
It's not rocket science, I think, but it's very important to understand how a framework can work with routes and
Hmm.
how they handle the request to respond well.
Mm. Yeah,
So,
thank you. Yeah, sure. Go
so
ahead. Mhm.
we can start with the demonstration. So,
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So I see you want to get right into the challenge. I like it. So yeah. So let's go. Should I share your screen right now?
yeah,
Okay. So while we are sharing the screen, can you just walk us through like what we're building for this challenge. So obviously we are building the API with PHP, but what sort of API are we building really?
Well, today we will build a simple get and post request for
Hmm.
to retrieve users and to create a user.
Okay.
Okay, very simple. Common API,
Hmm.
I think. For that reason, I created this little project Treblle with a Docker Compose, as you
Okay.
can see,
Hmm.
with different container,
Yeah.
Nginx, PHP, and MySQL for the database.
Okay.
Nginx is our server, and PHP is the container for PHP.
Okay.
Also, I created the project with Composer init, and I added the PSR4 with the namespace Treblle that respect the PSR4 for
Okay.
our namespace.
Hmm.
We will do it with PHP 8.1, as you can see.
Yeah.
And to start the project, we have already our Docker on. And the first thing to do, we can try to use a simple API now with Postman,
Hmm.
as you can see, the, the URL and file not found.
Okay.
Okay, so what does it mean? It means that you need the standard index file for Nginx and PHP. Usually it's called index.php, and we can create it as soon as possible because
Hmm.
it's our entry point for the application. Very
Okay.
easy. And we are working with PSR4, so we need to add our namespace also. And to work PHP, it's important to require a simple file from Composer. So we can add it very easy, and it's in dot dot
Yeah.
slash. It's called vendor slash
Yeah.
autoload.
So I think you might have in the namespace PSL, I think you might have misspelled treble. So maybe check
Oh
the
yeah,
yeah
yeah.
so,
This is the very first error for live coding, and
that's fine. It's just a typo. We do that all the time.
yeah,
At least I do it
yeah.
a lot.
I did a lot of typo in my code
That's
usually,
fine.
and
That's
after
fine.
that we can make a little response. Okay,
Okay.
let's try it, and the response
Oh,
is okay.
nice.
You did your very first API, but
Whoa.
you know
Cool.
there is more than this.
Of
Now
course.
you you can we need to create our users routes. So
Mm-hmm.
we can use a simple uh, variable already in PHP that's called server,
Mm-hmm.
and with a request. Now PHP Storm can help me. Request URI, and we
Mm-hmm.
can say equal users. Okay, we can say that here we can respond with a specific response, users, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Else, we can say echo, okay,
Nice.
the last one. So in the home page, it's okay, but in users, as you can see,
Mm-hmm.
we have users.
Nice.
Perfect.
Mm.
We have splitted this. But, now we have to create a user. So we need to understand if there is a get request or a post request.
Mm-hmm.
So for that reason, we have another uh, variable of PHP that can help us in this. As you can see, we can say the method of our request.
Mm-hmm.
It's called the request method. And in this case, equal is get in this case. And we can add it with our else if, we can add our post request.
Okay.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
we say it's a post.
Yeah.
And in this case, we can say post, it's post users. Okay,
Nice.
and this is the get users. Else, we can say that we don't need more routes. So for that reason, we can say echo not found. This is our not found page
Mm-hmm.
response, for example. Okay,
Yeah.
let's try it. This is our
Mm-hmm.
get users. I created the post and it works, post users. So we can try a not existing route and we can say not found. But as you can see, the response code is not correct. It's a 200. It's not correct. So
Yeah.
we need to add another little piece. It's called either. And in this case, we need to say what is the status code of our response. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
we can say HTTP 1.0, and we can say 404 not found.
Okay.
Okay, this is our status code. As you can see, 404 not found.
Nice.
We have our first step done. But as you can see, we can't manage our routes in this way. It's impossible. You need to map every route with the method, and after that, you need to manage the code. So usually, every framework has their custom system, custom service,
Mm-hmm.
called router, or whatever you want. But there are a lot of ways to implement this system,
Mm-hmm.
but we can create our very easy system. We can add a new file called router,
Mm-hmm.
and in this router we have the correct namespace in this way, and we can add a simple function, very easy, called get. Here, what we want to do, we need to pass our path, of the route, and a callable handler. What is a callable? You can pass, for example, a function.
Yeah.
Okay. Here, what we want to do, we need to uh, take this information and add it to our array of routes. But I don't like to use array of array in this case, because now here we have to add an handler with different parameters like the method, path, and the handler. So for that reason, I prefer to use a specific object that you can test with your unit test. It's very important to use unit tests.
Mm-hmm.
Usually I work with TDD, so I create first the test, and after that the code.
Mm-hmm.
We can use a named constructor in this case. This is a common pattern to create objects with
Mm-hmm.
the method, as I said before, the path, and our callable. We can say this is the callback. As you can see, in JavaScript, it's very common to use a callback. In PHP, not, but it's not so rare to find this. So what we have to do, we have to return new self of method and path. and callback. We can create our constructor, in this case, very simple, with a private string method. Okay, very simple. And our private string path and our callable, but we can't add the private for a callable, so we need to do this. We can call callback, as I said before. It's better, I think. And for this, we can add initialize properties in this way. For these properties, we can add getters because we need them after.
Okay.
So now we have our handler object. We can create
Nice.
our object here.
Mm-hmm.
Handler, create. The method, in this case, could be a constant because it's better to use a constant in this case. Private const, for example, method get. And we can see this is our get. Same thing for the post. So I need to change this. Thanks to PHP Storm,
Mm-hmm.
it's very important to use I need with auto completion and
Mm-hmm.
all the static analysis. So get and the path and our handler, as I said before.
Okay, cool.
Okay,
Yeah.
we added our handler.
Yeah.
This is our array
Yeah.
property.
Is it possible we could get your editor's font size or just like 2 points up a bit? Because
Okay, we can
yeah, I
edit
think it
our
should read,
editor
yeah, it should read better.
font
Uh yeah.
and increase to 20.
Yeah.
Is it
Yes.
is it better?
Yes. It's perfect. Yeah.
Okay. So now we have created our get function,
Mm-hmm.
and we can go to our index file, remove this code, and
Okay.
add our router, new router. Usually I prefer to use the dependency injection, but now
Okay.
it's another argument. So we can call our get, and the path in this case is, as we can say before, users. And what is our handler now? It's a simple function,
Mm-hmm.
okay? And here we can add, for example, the header. Okay, as we said before, it's important to for the status code of the response. In this case, it's a simple 200. Okay, and now we can return JSON encode. So we need to stringify something
Mm-hmm.
because here we would like to return a simple user, for example, one. We can say the username. In this case, we can say foo. And after that, we can add another key, for example, role.
Mm-hmm.
This is very common. Okay,
Yeah.
this is an admin. Okay, we added our route. So let's try to do something. Let's try to call this path. Get, nothing happens. Why?
Mm.
Well, we added only the routes. We don't manage nothing.
Oh
So
yes,
for
you
that,
did not.
so now we have to manage because now we collect every routes in this way. Every get you can add in this way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now we need to run our function. We have collect, and now we have to have a system to run our code. So we can create another function called run, and in this case, what is this? This is a function that takes a method, the path, and a match with our handlers to say, oh, you are this handler, okay, now I call your function.
Nice.
And in every framework works in this way usually.
Okay.
So this is our path. And again, we can return void. We don't have to return anything else. Okay, now we have to take the path and take the real path. How we can do it? Here we can say request URI. What is this request URI? It's a parse URL. We can use this function to parse the URL of the path.
Mm-hmm.
It's a native function of PHP. And the request path, the real request path, what is? It's request URI. This is an array. And here we can use the key path. Okay.
Okay.
Now we have to return, we have to call our callback. So we can init our callback with null. And now we have to understand which handlers we have to call in this
Mm-hmm.
way. So here we have our handlers, all our handlers as handler. And here we can type our uh, variable. This is an handler, our object. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
it's more easy for to have all the get and all the function. Now we have to compare our parameters with the handler. So we can say handler get path equal to request path. And the method, we need to split method in a different route
Mm-hmm.
sometimes.
Yeah.
So here we have the handler get method, very easy. And now here the callback, this is the callback in this case, it's our handler, no, handler, not this, in this way, get callback. Again, we have managed our system to match, but now
Mm-hmm.
we have to call the callback, right?
Yeah.
How can we do it? We can use again another native function of PHP called call user func array. And here we can pass our callback and an array. What is this array? This array is the parameters that you pass to your uh, callback function. Here we can merge two different arrays, the parameters of get and post, to manage parameters passed with get or post.
Okay.
And here we can use other magic of PHP. We have our get and post array for the parameters. Now we have managed our route. We can call here in our index file, we can say router run. And in this case, we have to say again, as previously, server request method, okay, in this way is the request method. Okay, PHP Storm help me. Okay, and the other parameter is again server, but in this case, it's not method, it's URI.
Yeah. Cool.
Let's try it, our get.
Yeah. Let's try out it.
Okay,
Oh.
well, this is very easy, but
Okay.
we have an existing route. What can happen? Fatal error.
Yeah. It's.
Very bad error for PHP.
Mm-hmm.
Not so good. Okay, why? Because our callback, if the for each doesn't found the correct handler, callback is null. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
can handle our callback. Again, we can use another object. I prefer to use always objects and not something else.
Okay.
We can call the response, and in this case, we have a construct with what we need to have in this response. Well, usually we have the status code
Mm-hmm.
and data. It's very common to have an object response like this. Okay. I did the same thing in JavaScript, Java, or whatever you want.
Yeah.
And when we call our response object, we can use, again, a magical uh, function to string to say, when we call this object and you need to stringify this object, you run this code automatically, as I call.
Mm-hmm.
And in this case, we have to say the HTTP response code. What is? It's this status code. Now we can add another little step to our response because we have to say that the content type in this case, because you can have multiple content types, but
Yeah.
now we have application slash JSON. It's a common response in this case.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to return a string. So, as we said before, JSON encode of this data. Okay, we create our response object. And now we can return to our router and we can add another function to add our specific not found handler. Okay, add not found handler. What we can do here? Here we have a callable again and with an handler. This is our handler void. And here we can, for example, say uh, we can add another parameter for our router. We can say not found handler. We store our handler to not for the not found. Okay, so in our index we can add another route, add not found handler, and here we can do a very little callback. We can use our response. Okay, echo new response, our response, it's important. Here
Mm-hmm.
we have 404
Mm-hmm.
and array of data. It's not necessary, I think, for a 404.
Yeah.
Okay, here, thanks to PHP Storm, I did a mistake. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
but in our router, we have to say also if callback, if null, I prefer the other condition, equal to callback, what we have to do? Here, we have to return, we have to assign the callback of this, for example, not found handler. We don't have the array, the parameter. We can add this property. And now we have not found handler. Let's try it.
Yeah, let's try it.
Okay,
Mm.
404. Now we can do the same thing for the post request because we have to add something. this is our post. Same as the get. Here we have to use the post. And this is our post manage. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And in our index file, we have to copy the get, adding our post. Here we have to change this. And now we can add here our array of parameters. As we can say before, for that reason, with array merge, we can have here the array of parameters. Now we can add a little check because I don't want that you can call me in a lot of way. You need to have specific, for example, parameters
Yeah.
like we said before, username. Okay, if we set username and is set of params of we said before role.
Yeah.
In this case, you can return a new response, our response. Now we have a 2 or 1 because we create something.
Yeah.
And here we can return, for example, the username,
Mm-hmm.
our new username. So params of username and the role.
Yeah.
Okay, we have this little array to create params role. Here, else, what we have to do? Well, this is not a correct request for us. So we can say echo new response. In this case is 400. It's a bad request.
Mm-hmm.
And we can add a specific error. I don't like to have a specific error for security reason, but in this case, it's important not to share what is the bad parameter in this case. Again, for security reason.
Mm-hmm.
Bad request.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we have managed this. We can try. This is our post request. As you can see, if I change something, it changes.
Mm.
But we have also a post users wrong. In this case, it's a bad request.
Nice.
We did it again.
Yes, we did.
We finished this step. But
Mm-hmm.
again, as you can see, there are a lot of code in index.php. So we can improve it again a little
Okay.
bit. How can we improve it? Well, usually routing system call different handlers or controller. Okay, so here we can add a directory called infrastructure
Okay.
slash controller. I don't remember if it's correct controller controllers, but it's not important. And here we can add our class users. Okay, here what we can do again, we need the correct namespace because for the PSR it's important. Treble infrastructure backslash, in this case is controller. Here we have a public function. We have to reply our system of get. We have our get function that manage our get users. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
we can say this return a void again. And here we can have echo new response, not this, please, my this one. And here we can add our array.
Nice.
This is an array of array usually because it's users. Okay,
Yeah.
because we can have multiple user also.
Mm-hmm.
So array of array, it's not a problem for us to manage. And we did our get. Same thing for the post. What we can do here, public function. And here we have to pass our, again, array of params because we need to take the params from the request.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we can copy and paste the same code that we written before. We have written before. Okay, yeah, I forgot post. Okay, now we have to invent something. We have to understand how we can change our function because we can't use a callable array, a callable function here. So we can change in our router these two parameters. We can switch from a callable to a string.
Okay.
And you know, we have an object called handler that take callable. And now we can use the private again, and we have a string. We have a string. We can remove this, and we can change callable to string. Because now we would like to manage the system with a different system. Okay, now we change from callable to string, and in our index file, we would like, as you can see, PHP Storm is not happy to see this change. Okay,
Yes, it's not.
so not happy. So we can remove and create our system.
Okay.
Okay, here we have our router, as you can see before, get. We have our path. We have users. And here we have to specify the string to call or the system. And we can use users plus dot. We have to add another part of the string. Here we have get. You can use whatever you want for this string.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the post. Change this. Now we have to manage this new system into our router. How can we do it? Here we can understand if the callback it's a string or not. So we can use again another function of PHP is a string, our callback. If it's string, what we have to do? We have to split this string into part to take the class and the method. Okay,
Okay.
we have to use a function called explode. Explode is the same of split. Okay, we have to use the separator and pass the uh, parameter to split. In our case, it's callback. And our class is the first parameter of the explode.
Okay.
Okay, so we have our class. It's equal to parts of 0, and we can instantiate this in this way. We have our handler. It's equal to new class. and the method to call. The method it's equal to uh, the second parameter. In this case, it's 1
o-
because the array starts from 0 in this
okay,
case. So it's 1. And now we have our callback. Our callback is equal to an array where we pass our handler, okay, and the method. Let's try it.
yeah, let's try it.
We have our get of users
Mm-hmm.
with JSON, as you can see, in a pretty way.
Mm-hmm.
We have our post. It works. We can change something to understand if it works or not. Yeah. We have our post user wrong. Again, it works.
Mm-hmm.
And we have the not existing route that we don't have managed with the new system, but it's not necessary.
Yeah.
Well, the last step we would like to share, it's a little step. As you can
Okay.
see, we can pass inquiry string
Yeah, we can.
something.
Mm-hmm.
So here in our get, again, we have our array of parameters. And now I I will make an error, okay, but it's only for a demonstration scope. If I var dump the parameters, as you can see, we don't have, I wrong the call, okay. As you can see, we have all the data passed in query string.
Yeah.
So in this way, you can use the parameters to do a lot of things. So for the demonstration, I finished this little project in less than 40 minutes. And
Mm-hmm.
what will be the next improvement? To use regular expression instead of this system, because you can have API slash version one slash users. You can
Okay.
have regular expression. We can add the prefix, and I have the second part of this little demonstration with the database,
Mm-hmm.
using real data separated from the code with a concept of hexagonal architecture
Nice.
with interface and something to understand why it's so important to understand the hexagonal architecture, that it's very similar, the approach of frameworkless, but there is a specific part for the separation to decouple the code, the business logic from the framework.
Nice.
It was really enjoyable to
Yeah.
do this without any sort of errors. I say
Yeah,
as a
you are doing great. Like we've not installed any dependencies other than PHP itself, and we have like a very good router. We could
yeah.
handle requests, send back JSONs, set our status code. I was really very interested that you differentiated the status code, the 201s, the 200s, the 404, and the batch requests. So we have something really standard. And of course, you're following PSL standard, so we are standard. Yeah.
Yeah, we follow the standard, and
Mm-hmm.
as you can see, the index file, it's 20 line of code,
Yeah.
and the routing system, it's only 60 lines of code.
Wow.
And every framework works like this, not in this way, right? But the concept is the same. Collect the route with annotation, YAML, PHP file, etc.,
Mm-hmm.
JSON, and they collect them and understand, okay, this is the request. We have to match the request with our routes,
Mm-hmm.
or, or we have the 404 not found response.
Yeah.
The concept is the same.
That's very insightful. So just from building this, okay, watching you build this, I have more understanding of how the we could really like how the re- response and the request is being made and how they are handling it. So yeah, it's really nice. I like it.
I am very happy for this because uh, for me it's very important to share this type of concept. This is a little demo, a little project that I recommend to every developer, junior developers, for example, to
Mm-hmm.
understand well routing system. And next step could be the dependency injection
Mm-hmm.
system. And there are a lot of things that you can build to understand how the things work. This is very important for me.
Yeah, sure. Cool. So are we still building some stuff into it or what?
I think that we covered all the main concept of a routing system. There
Okay.
are there are a lot of things that you can improve in this code. We
Mm-hmm.
can manage well this type of file handler response in a different directories. You can use a better routing system with regular expression, as I said before.
Mm-hmm.
You can add unit test also. It's very important to use unit test. And the routing system, you can test it with a different unit test because you don't have dependencies. It's very easy to test it, and it's very important to use tests to be sure that if you will touch something, it works. You don't have to go to Postman and try it by yourself or
Mm-hmm.
click on buttons again. Use the unit test to help you and help your team to change very frequently your code without fear.
Mm-hmm.
It's very important and to deploy whenever you want.
Yeah. Awesome, awesome. Yeah, so thank you. So I think we could call it because this is even this is great for the like the first challenge. Like we build a routing system, we're handling requests, we can get back JSON, and it's like mostly what your REST API is going to be on, anyways. So yeah, so thank you. Yeah. So thank you so much for your time and you walking us through like using just PHP to build a web API. That's we see our response, we could send requests and we get it back. So thank you so much, Alessandro.
Thanks to you for this opportunity. I am very happy to share these concepts, and I'm very glad to be here. It's a very great opportunity for me.
Yeah, sure. So any final words to our viewers for those whether it's junior dev, a PHP dev, or anything in general you want to just tell us?
Well, usually I say that our journey is to learn something every day. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
never stop learning, never stop to uh, understand how the things work
Mm-hmm.
because you can use this concept in PHP, in
Yeah.
Java, in
Mm-hmm.
Node.js, whatever you want with this paradigm. And if you understand how the concept work, you can have a lot of opportunities for your career, for yourself, to become more uh, professional
Yeah.
for your work.
Mm-hmm.
And never stop learning. It's very
Yes.
important for me.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much. So if I want to reach you, where do I reach you? Like Twitter, your website, or where?
You can follow me on Twitter with
Mm-hmm.
the nickname Minompi.
Mm-hmm.
You can find me on GitHub with my name, Alessandro Minoccheri, and
Mm-hmm.
you can see my different projects that I maintain. I
Okay.
like to contribute on different projects, so you can reach me in these channels. And I appreciate to have feedback and
Mm-hmm.
request or whatever you want
Yeah.
about this talk.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much. So yeah, so there you have it, folks. The very first Frameworkless APIs challenge by Trouble. It was taken on by Alexandro. We've just built an API with PHP. It was really interesting to don't install anything and just use PHP the way it is and have a very basic but robust routing system. And yeah, we could really just call the API endpoints and we get our result back. Of course, it's not like totally complete, but it's a foundation for you to know that yeah, this is possible. You could build it, then you could add other um fluffs on it, like routing with regex or adding your database layer. That's all for you to add. But this is a very strong and solid foundation to tell you that you need to understand the language and how these frameworks are using it, so you could better use those frameworks, or you could just do something on your own and become like a language developer other than a framework developer. Not that there's anything bad with using framework, but when you understand how the language works and how the framework uses it, it just makes your life a whole lot easier and give you a lot of opportunities in your career. So yeah, thank you so much, Alessandro, once again, and have a great day.
Thanks.